Thank you. Thank you.
And we come to the last presentation in the first session of the day. And the next presenter is Dr. Tran Van Thanh. Tran is founder of ASA Studios in Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. He has a background as well as architect and in ILD at Hochschule Wismar. And he holds a doctorate degree in lighting and built environment from London Metropolitan University. He worked in Hamburg with Ulrike Brandy and in London with Maurice Brel. So he's a broad experience as a lighting designer before he started his own studio in Vietnam. And he will ask the 7 billion lighting design proposal question. Can we have the same lighting design for all 7 billion? You will.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me clear and well?
We can hear you clear and well. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. I'm start sharing screen. So you see the screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Great. Okay. Thank you for the introduction and good afternoon to everyone. So it was a surprise to hear the my bio to be taught in the space. So when I joined Wismar in 2002, I was the youngest in the class, and now I think among the oldest. So I'm 19 years from Wismar. So I met Professor Rumhill just a few years ago in Bangkok when he came with the Wismar student from the distance learning. And he say, "Hi, Thanh, I think we met you about 5 years ago." I say, "No, actually it's 15 years ago." And we both surprised. So it's good to have a flashback today to talk to Wismar again. So to come back to my 20 years celebration and Wismar celebration and my 19 years celebration. So just a bit introduction about me. So I'm Thanh. I'm the design director of ASA Lighting Design Studio. We are from a very far corner of the earth. So I'm from Ho Chi Minh City, from Vietnam. And we're gonna bring you a very interesting presentation that have a big number. I think always attractive to hear about number. So we have 7.9 billion people on the earth. And as I heard from the opening ceremony today, a few days ago, we have 600 lighting designer graduate from Wismar. So one of my, I want to borrow this photo from the weather project from Olaf Foliation in Ted Modern, but actually all of our 7.9 billion people and our 600 graduate from Wismar, we all share the same light source, it's the sun. And I think this project is very inspiring because actually it's have implication about how we should appreciate the sun as the main light source for million years. So the history of humans sharing this same light source for already million years. And also we now facing the same coronavirus, right? So the 600 designer actually, not immune to coronavirus. And we also share the human history of lighting in the discovery of fire. Until now, we talk about LED technology. It's always everywhere. So it's no different from a different corner of the world, whether you're in Germany, in London, or in Asia, Singapore, or Vietnam. And we have the same lighting design evolution from the Greek temple a long times ago to the recent project in the Middle East. I think it's all about same source of inspiration, same source of design elements and factor. So all of this, and also lighting have the same meaning, have the same kind of language to human, to all of 7.9 billion of us. So it's a photo of Ho Chi Minh City during the lockdown last year. And you see all the building turn on the hotel turn on their guest room lighting. And I think you can understand the message without, understand the language, whether you are German, British, or Vietnam, or Thai, or Japanese. So I think we all share the same root of lighting. So the question is that, can we find a formula for a universal lighting design? So, to have an understanding of that and to have a common approach that everyone have a sympathy and a passion for it and can understand for it, like lighting, how they convey the message. So I was reading this. We come back to the basic of lighting from Bohr, the scientist who discovered a theory about the atom. So he say light actually is not either wave or particle. It's both a wave and particle. So I'm not going to talk about physics right now. I'm just want to take this as inspiration. So you talk about particle, which is something, you know, store energy, but doesn't move. It's something like stand still. It's something like constant. But you talk about wave. One wave is moving, wave movement, wave is changing thing, and wave reacts to the environment, you know, surrounding it. So actually lighting is not something constant. So it's something that both wave and particle, which is, you know, constant and movement. I think that's the basic of lighting. So, and I learned it from James Turrell. So actually what this is not about lighting, it's about how we see. It's more important than what we see. So try to find the formula that we're looking at. So maybe we should look the way we see and try to apply that onto our lighting design. So if you look at this illustration, right, it's looked very complicated. I think I'm not going to explain this. I'm not capable to do this as well. I'm very bad at biology when I was at school. But what I'm seeing from this graphically, that you look at light from eye and brains, and proportionally from a designer point of view, you see the brain is bigger than the eye. So I can conclude that actually you look at lighting by brain, not by the eyes. So just look at this kind of very theoretic chart that everyone who working on lighting design industry know about that, and how light get onto your perception, right? So there are two waves that light gonna transfer to your brain, and to understand that there are visual pathway and there are non-visual pathway. So if we break it down onto smaller kind of element, we see that the visual pathway, that light goes through the visual performance, the visual experience, and the non-visual pathway actually is about the biological kind of perception of human. So, but if you look at in a simpler way as a designer, I think we have the same visual performance requirement for every lighting design application, but the what makes different is the visual experience. I think that's maybe that the keyword, that's the key element into our formula to try to find universal lighting design formula for all the application. So visual experience, very important. This is what you're looking at right now in your Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, where I was in Wismar. But actually, this is what I'm looking at right now, and in the Melcombe Delta in the corner of the world, and we are in the warm sunshine right now, 26 degrees and 6 p.m., nearly 6 p.m. in the evening. So my visual experience very different to you. What is your experience about, you know, surrounding about your life? Is a easy going, friendly, you know, little Hansestadt Wismar, you know, got fresh and nicely. But my experience can be very different, you know, very colorful, and we are very thrilling and dynamic in traffic and things like that. So that can change my perception of light a lot. Or, you know, we experience from doing lighting design from this corner of the world. Actually, I talked to my colleague saying, actually doing lighting design this corner of the world is more challenging than doing it in Germany or in Europe. So over there, maybe you have a system that you're concerned about all these kind of requirements, the IP69, you know, need to be very high standard. But what we having over here is nobody care about what's IP rating, or they don't know about it, or we don't care about it. I think that's a very different perspective when you're doing lighting design. So that's the challenging that we have to face with. And when we try to find a formula that applicable for all the corner of the world, for all these 7.9 billion of people who have different kind of visual perception and different visual experience, as well as requirement and demand. Again, just come back to science, you know, when you look at all this kind of visual process that you can Google it in the internet. It's very complicated, so I'm not going to dig onto this. I think you need a several PhD degree to look onto this kind of chart. But what I'm seeing here very clear that actually we can separate into two parts, that you have the common factor, which is all of visual performance and human performance, that maybe we share all of that, the same requirement for human. But what makes us different is the environment, the culture, the context, and also your personality. So that is the differentiator factor that, make the requirement or make the application vary. So to simplify and to try to find a formula when you try to do a research. So let's separate that. So you have the gray block, which is a common factor, and then you have the red block. Maybe that is the differentiator factor, and that can be the formula for my lighting design. So that how easy it is, right? So the common factor maybe that can be learned from the internet. You can go to Google and download that, but what makes you different, what vary, is the differentiate factor, which is culture and your environment. So seeing, believing. So I think that red block make a lot different to our lighting design. So visual experience is vary. So it's just how you live, how you perceive the world, how you went through the things, how you look at things and understand it, or how you interpret it, how is your mooding. It's very personal and depend on the time, the place you live, and how you live and how you interact with the world, and that vary. So this is the spectrum that I have from my life from 19 years ago when I was in Wismar in Europe, and where I live right now in Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh City. So that is a mixed spectrum of a little Wismar by the Baltic Sea and the crowded, dynamic traffic jam Ho Chi Minh City together with the beauty of the East and the West. So that make my spectrum, and actually that my red factor that I gonna differentiate my design to the other. So to sum up, the formula actually is very easy. You just need to have a passion for lighting. You need to understand what is required, and then you put that together with your experience, with your understanding about the world through your eye, and then you have a beautiful lighting design. I think that's very simple as it is. So there's no secret, there's no formula. That's just the way that how we perceive the world. So let's talk a little bit about how we do that. So if we apply this kind of formula into our lighting design application, right? So when I look at this chart, so my inspiration that maybe it's look like cooking. You have a base, you have meat, and you have vegetable. Just the spine make it different. So the gray block actually the base, and what you need a little bit of spine and herb that make your dish different. So then that leads me to this thinking about this movie, Eat, Pray, Love. It's about a lady called Elizabeth Gilbert, journalist. She just fed up with her life, and so she go to eat in Italy, go to pray in India, and she found her love in Bali, in Indonesia. But all this word, eat, pray, love, I think that's the basic demand of a human. To survive, you need to eat, you need to have a belief, and you need to be loved. I think that's all required, and there's no different from lighting. So light is all relevant to human and to this basic requirement. So let's talk about eat first, right? How eat and lighting are relevant together, and how to apply that my formula onto this application through some project I have over here. Let's look at food first, right? So I think food is something very relevant to culture, right? When you talk about Italy, then you talk about pizza. When you talk about Germany, then the wurst, the sausage, and the beer come up first. So what I miss most from Germany actually did this currywurst. I remember my time when I was visiting Berlin, and we went to Alexanderplatz, and there was a guy that with the frying pan, carry on in front of him, and you pay €1 for a currywurst in the winter time. And actually they make a Deutsche Currywurst museum to see how important such a thing to be in the place of history of human. So food eating become political as well. So you see, this is the photo which is very famous in the news recently when the US president went to Vietnam. So this is the headline from the news, not his picture of shaking some politician people, but this headline that Obama went to have a Vietnam street food. So I think lighting, eating is very important in culture, right? Even in political. Then just look at Vietnam culinary. So I'm gonna make it fast. So we got a task to design several kind of fine dining Vietnamese restaurant, but we need to understand what is, the spirit, the soul behind this. So when you look at this Vietnamese cuisine, so they say it's just very simple. It's agriculturally based cuisine. So you need to have a full flavor, full texture and contrast and balance, but it's very simple. And so we apply that into our lighting design for one of these fine dining Vietnamese restaurants. So it's just, the basic of it. Something just soft, so there's no clear statement. There's no strong spine on it. You don't need to have a high contrast. You don't have a strong background or some kind of that. But it's just a little bit of everything. It's a balance between the flavor, the aroma, and the color, the contrast, and the sound that, they play music during your meal. So, that's the visual perception of Vietnamese food. And that also the visual perception of how you light up a Vietnamese restaurant. Then we got another brief to design a very high-end premium Japanese lounge and restaurant in Ho Chi Minh City. And when you look at the, the talk behind the Japanese food and cuisine, they say, always they start a meal or as a restaurant with the word itadakimasu. I'm not Japanese, sorry, please correct me. But that meaning humbly receive. So you look at this kind of presentation with the food, everything very humble, but very sophisticated and very well crafted. So that the keyword needs to be humble, but well received. And so this is the entrance of that restaurant we call Sore Restaurant and Lounge. So leading to a restaurant when it's on the top of a building, a skyline building. So when you arrive there by lift, the lift door open and you arrive, you will see a humble receive, welcome you to a restaurant. So you know that you have arrived at a fine dining Japanese restaurant by looking at how the lighting to be set up. So nothing lousy, something very humble, but very sophisticated and welcome. Then you come in the space and then you're expecting to have a fine dining experience with Japanese food. Then you look at this text from the Junichiro famous book, Infrared Shadow. So there's a chapter talking about miso soup, how miso soup to be, how beautiful the miso soup is. So it's beautiful when you serve in a black bowl, when you can see the depth of it, and you can appreciate, all the flavor, the simple flavor, but it's all strong and, well crafted. So that talk to bring into our, fine dining restaurant, you see that behind you, all the bowl behind, actually there's a LED that can simulate the candle rhythm that, like you just have a fine dining and a quiet atmosphere to appreciate your food, to see your miso bowl soup. Another private dining space, quiet, humbly received, but sophisticated. And then this is a main space. We come to the main space of a restaurant. And when the Japanese, when they end the dining, they say the words, Yochishu Shama Desita. It means it was a feast. So we inspired from this kind of photo from old-time Japanese play that when you have this candle, feast together with a performance, very fine, everyone was very concentrated. And to take that spirit to design the space as a space for a restaurant. So it needs to be celebrated, it needs to be kind of golden, but kind of fine and luxury look. And you see, so how lighting, how food can infuse onto your lighting mood. So actually it's one. So it's one of the scent, like you taste it and you see it. I think they both all well together. So you come to a restaurant to buy an experience, to buy time, to buy a moment, that all things need to be well woven together, the food and the atmosphere, also the visual interest. Then we receive another one, the Japanese one. So it's very Chinese one, sorry. It's very important in Chinese culture. So, you know that the Chinese, they have a lot of dishes, and then everyone usually gathering around in the table and sharing food together with a lot of chat. So in the one saying of the Chinese philosophy, I Ching, he say, gentlemen use eating as a way to attain happiness. So to design a good lighting for a Chinese restaurant, so you need to be celebrate. It needs to be happy. Needs to, allow people to have conversation and sharing food. So very different to the Vietnamese or the Japanese restaurant. And this is the design we apply for a Chinese restaurant called San Fu Lao. So it's not a fine dining, it's a bit informal. But you see it's very celebrating. It has a lot of kind of color and also the brightness and also the playful element on it, and how light and food infused together. And also they have a show kitchen that people can watch the chef cook, interactive between the guests. A social contact, very important in this kind of space. Also, we have some kind of private space as well, but you see the mood is very different to the Chinese or the Japanese one, the mood and the food as well. So you see that lighting very much relevant to what you eat and what you experience and what you liked. So let's talk about prayer. It's about religion, about what you believe. I think that also have a big influence on your lighting design. So we want to talk about a project that we did long times ago in 2012, but it's won an Ivy Award, very well recognized. So everyone when talk about us, they recognize this project. So called the Dragon Bridge in Da Nang, Vietnam. So as simple as it is, it's in the city of Da Nang. It's not a very big city, a medium-sized city. They want to build a bridge that crossing the river and going to the sea, but they want to make a special one. So they want to make a landmark. So they build a bridge in design of a dragon, a full-scale dragon with scale and head and tail, and they hire a sculptor to do the head and tail. And they want the dragon to spit fire and water, so they will be a show, a lighting show together with fire show and water show to attract the guests. So this is a city. I don't have much thing to offer. It's a young and new. So they decide to be something that's special. And we were calling that, oh, we want to do this lighting for this dragon. Okay, can you have any idea about it? The first thing that we thought, oh, actually, nobody have any idea how the dragon look like. Everyone know, what is the dragon, but reality, nobody see it. So how can we portray that with light? How to portray a dragon that have a same common that everyone appreciate it and everyone understand that have a same meaning for everyone. Even you are local people or your tourists, your visitor to the city, you still appreciate that. So look at how dragon to be different, in different culture. If you look at dragon in the West, it's dragon a way to be killed. So the prince gonna kill the dragon to rescue the princess. Or you look at the recent movie like the Hobbit movie, dragon is something very scary and need to be slaughtered. In Asia, I think nobody make a films about a dragon to be killed. So the dragon is something to be worshipped. But also it's a problem that nobody actually see the dragon. So it's all about imagination and illusion about it. So that's the difference, that also the challenging that we need to face. So we dig onto this kind of traditional art and find the common understanding how the dragon is and how the dragon to be portrayed in the folk art and history of Vietnam. And you see, they always have this kind of premium or respected position in the art. It's on the top of the roof of the imperial palace. It's on the king robe. It's always on all kind of a high position. It's on the king palace. It's on the the most expensive ceramic. So it's very colorful and it's always associated with a cloud. With kind of a lot of a religion object. Like here you see the sun, the moon, or this kind of magic thing. So I think that may be that the way that we should portray this dragon design. So this is the final touch, final completion in mind of that. And what I want to say here is the comment from the award saying that is a well-crafted multimedia experience communicating national and religious identity. I think the word, the comment saying about the, how special this is. So it's not about lighting design. So it's not about, oh, it's a beautiful ray gun, but it's communicating the national and religious identity. So how you make a standard bridge to become an iconic one. And I think that also make this city change a lot. So it's a modern city. There's no landmark. There's no tourist spot. But now everyone coming to the city, they come to see this show and they talk about this Dragon Bridge. So I just show you a few spots about, this city in 2008, just 4 years before the bridge built. And it was a quiet town, not much happening over here. It's just, beautiful landscape, but no facility. And this is 2011, just before the bridge complete. And you see, this is 2014. You see a lot of hotel coming up already, right? If I have time, we'll share with you how it is right now in 2021, right? It's gonna be very celebrated, but a lot of things happening as well. So lighting have a great impact on life, and you need to understand, how people are brought to that. Then the last subject, love. I think everyone need love. They own a song about love, all you need is love. So how love gonna be interpret and integrate into our lighting design? So we want to talk about our interesting project. It's still under progress, haven't complete yet, very complex one. This is we have been invited to design to renovate a lighting for this lake in the center of Hanoi. So this lake is very historic in the very center of Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. So it's have a lot of story about it. If you see that there's 2 islands on this lake, on the middle of the city, just like Hamburg, you have this big lake, beautiful big lake. So this is a, small lake in Hanoi. Why is have the name of small lake? Because there's story again. I think everyone share the same story. You talk about Cinderella, everyone have the same version of Cinderella in different country, and this is the same. So there was a Vietnamese king that he got the sword from, a turtle. He's kind of a magic turtle that gave him the sword to defeat the enemy that invaded Vietnam. And there was actually a giant turtle living in the lake, but the turtle died a few years ago. So everyone believes that this lake is real. The legend is real. So similar to King Arthur in England. So that's just one proof that actually we share the same common culture and talk, right? How come King Arthur also have a sword from the lake, and also Vietnamese king also received a sword from a turtle from the lake? So it's quite a surprise. And this is a very photoshopped moment of the lake. It's very beautiful. It's got a historic place, and everyone like it as a landmark in Hanoi. And this is another few shots from an island. There's a bigger island, small island. You have this tower. They call the Turtle Tower, and there's a bigger island when you have another temple with the bridge that linking the shore and to the island in the red color. So it's very beautiful and quiet Vietnamese architecture. The scene can be very scenic during the time. During the daytime, it's beautiful. But during nighttime, actually, it's not. So what you see here, because right the center of the city, so you have a lot of light spill from neighboring building. They have a lot of hotel, a lot of government building, and the street line, the shop surrounding, and also because it's an old place, so all the tree was not well planted, so it's different shape, different tree, very old tree. And the lighting is kind of, all together, very messy. And so it's difficult to link all of that together to appreciate this beauty of this historic place. So how to do this? So this is the current situation when we do the investigation. You see different building is lit up with different kind of light, and there's no story or there's no harmony between it. Also the tree, they are beautiful, but they are in different shape, different location, and the lighting is also very different. And it's very unfriendly to the user surrounding. Light is not where it's needed, so it's not safe to stay there. So that's the current situation, and that's the side condition that when we took the picture, you see a lot of light spill from the background, from the hotel, and all of this the tree to be lit in different way. And to simplify this, we just look at this in a simpler way. So we say that this is the turtle, this is a shore lake. So the turtle tower needs to be the main actor on this kind of, stage. So we need to control it. We need to look at the way how to, to link all these elements together. The problem right now is that you have a very noisy background with all the things happening. And if we want to achieve the good lighting design, I think we need to control the background and need to light in the state and have a focus point. And when I look at this photo from, a photograph on the internet about this turtle tower, so actually it looked very like a painting. So we say, wow, how about we use the painting technique to light up this space? And then we come up with an idea that using the traditional Vietnamese lacquer art, when you look at the painting, you see everything is not, very clearly drawn. It's just a bit of patchy, but a mix of color of everything. But the overall impression is very impressive. And so we look at using Vietnamese lacquer technique to apply for this landscape lighting. We look at the color palette that they have. All this color needs to come from nature ingredient. So, and the way the people how to draw this painting, it's like a very clear and patchy, but the like impressionist painting got that thing. So then we apply this kind of 4 elements of the color palette into our design. And from different view, we observe different view and try to create a good painting, good lacquer painting from different viewpoint. So the first one is from this corner. We say, okay, you're gonna see the turtle tower, and we need to have a nice background on it, and the intensity needs to be controlled. So this is look at if I draw a lacquer painting, it's gonna look like that. But if I apply that onto our lighting design, it should be like this, right? So you have this kind of darkness background behind this golden turtle tower, and you have this kind of increasing background when in our left-hand side. So you need to talk about proportion and the ratio, the contrast ratio, and also the distribution of color, the rest of color on it. And when you look closer, it really, it's easy, simple. It really looks like a lacquer painting. This is just another view of that. So, it's just another view. And then we define different view, how the painting should be. So the painting is not the same. The lacquer painting should be different. From one corner can be very kind of wow and overwhelming. From the other corner can be very quiet, can be symmetrical. And, just another view of that lake with this one with the temple and the bridge. So the bridge we design not to lit it fully, but just a little touch of it, right? All right, so that's another view and how the painting should be. And if we apply that onto reality, how it should be. So that is just another view of that. So actually you're just drawing different kind of painting and you try to do it with lighting. And, actually it's a very time consuming job, but it's doable. We just need to look at different different kind of way to do it. And this is the render of how we lit up all this historic landmark, just like lacquer art. So you don't need to do too detailed, but the overall impression is very important. The color and the proportion and the brightness and the contrast. I think that all make the scenery amazing. Right. Also need to be friendly to the pedestrian. And also we look at the theme from different seasons. So spring needs to be celebrate. And some need to be more relaxing, warmer tone. Then you come to autumn. And, it's Hanoi in the winter can be very foggy. And maybe we need to, create this kind of magical scene. So I would like to end my talk today with this amazing photo. So it's not to do with lighting, but I like it very much. It's for a Photoshop from one art project in Phu Quoc Island. So you see everything is common. You have the same They say here a picture containing wave, outdoor nature and shore. Everyone have water, outdoor nature, shore and your location. Coconut trees everywhere. You can go to Thailand, you have it. But the conical hat that make you different. So it's all about the hat. So you can have the same design, you can have the same building, same project, but the hat make you different. That make you stand out. I think that's the formula I should explain to you. It's very simple, but it's not easy to do. So I think that's end my talk. Thank you very much. I think I've run a bit over time. So hope you enjoy it. And also my thank you to Wismar for my 19 years journey, and congratulations for 20 years. And thank you to all professors over there. It's been a great time and has been a great experience to my life and my career. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Tran, for this interesting presentation and your insight merging both Western and Eastern